Welcome to Agency Bytes, a podcast for agency owners, hosted by agency veteran and coach Steve Guberman. Agency Bytes is a podcast focused on delivering actionable agency information from agency experts in about 25 minutes. Why 25 minutes? Because who has the attention span for much more these days? And you can squeeze in a listen between meetings with time for a bathroom break or coffee refill before your next meeting.
Welcome to Agency Bytes, a podcast dedicated to helping agency owners thrive. I'm Steve Guberman from Agency Outsight, where I coach creative entrepreneurs to help build the business of their dreams. Today, I'm thrilled to have Peter Kang on the show. Peter is the co-founder and chairman of Barrel Holdings, which oversees a group of digital agencies, including Barrel, a top Shopify agency, and BX Studio, a leading Webflow agency. Peter loves working closely with agency leaders, both inside of Barrel Holdings and outside of it. Acting as a sounding board and sharing lessons he's learned over the years of running successful business through his insanely transparent weekly email and on LinkedIn. Peter, I am pumped to have you here. Thank you for being with me.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
Yeah. Let's jump in first. I'm dying to hear your evolution. I know you started Barrel with a couple of partners years and years ago, and now you're kind of, I don't want to say hands off, but what's been the evolution of Barrel and what's your role in the organization now?
Yeah, sure. I started Barrel with my co-founder Sewuk back in 2006. At that time, we had met at Columbia where we went to school, and I worked a year in finance, but Sewuk was still in school. But I decided after a year of finance that was enough, and decided to give it a try at starting our own business. And so two of us for a while, and we slowly built up a business, and caught the wave of the digital transformation, websites, all that stuff. And just stuck with it. Over the years, got lucky, adding some really talented people to our team, including Lucas Balsi, who became one of the partners. Wes Turner, also our CTO, became a partner. So the four of us, really ran the business together. But as kind of the years went by, some opportunities came along that enabled Sewuk and myself to move out of Barrel full time, and then focus on a couple other businesses as well. So I could get into the Barrel Holdings evolution and genesis. But as of today, since I guess July 1st was when the official transition of me stepping down as Barrel CEO happened. And then Lucas stepped in to run Barrel as CEO. And then beyond that, it's been all focused on the holding company, Barrel Holdings, which is a confusing name, I know, but
it works. Yeah. So you four jumped in right out of school, no design experience, no agency experience, just Columbia grads, business, kind of business minded, knowing there was an opening in the market for what you were doing.
So Lucas and Wes came much later.
Okay.
It was Sewuk and I, and the two of us. Honestly, it was like as undergrads, we were making a lot of things together, like websites and designing stuff. And so, we had built this kind of muscle of collaboration and, doing stuff to kind of make, some money on the side. And so honestly, it wasn't strategic at all. We were like, okay, we like working together. Let's find a way to, just keep it going. And, if we work hard and, kind of do the things that we like, we'll make a life out of it. And so that was it. No kind of conception of, what the market might be, or, that there was this kind of wave of, the internet getting larger and all that stuff. So nothing was really that strategic.
Better than being strategic. It was just following your gut and following something that was going to make you guys happy, and what the heck, let's just go for it. I kind of admire that a little bit more than here's our business plan, let's go for an SBA loan or any nonsense like that. So I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that philosophy has stuck around because I think, whenever Sewuk and I have had to make some decisions around the future of Barrel, let's say, or kind of what we want to do for the next 10, 15 years, it's always been, hey, let's optimize for basically energy, this feeling of getting up every day and just, being excited to, work with each other, and then also just, enjoy the work that we do. And so, does that optimize for, wealth and success? I hope so. But, at the end of the day, I think, if we're feeling good about every day and having a good time, I'm sure we'll look back and be like, all right, we made the right choice.
Yeah, I love chasing that. Like that's your kind of true north, your why, and I love that as just opposed to anything else. That talk about like what the trajectory of Barrel was before, prior to this July, over the past, was it 8 years or so?
Yeah. So around, maybe 7, 8 years ago now, we really decided to focus on e-commerce, specifically building for Shopify. So prior
Hmm.
to that, we had been, pretty generalist, like doing anything and everything. Did a lot of WordPress sites, did a lot of just marketing stuff. But like, over time, we were like, okay, we like, e-com. This kind of a lot of growth opportunity there. Shopify as a platform is growing, so we decided to really go all in on that. And so with that evolution came a lot of hard decisions,
Hmm.
which was, hey, like we have some clients that don't fit the Shopify mold, or also the type, like maybe a certain size of client that we need to pursue in order to make the strategy pay off. And so that's where actually fortuitously, like it led us to spin out a bunch of client accounts that ended up becoming our first agency outside of Barrel, Vaulted Oak, which became a web support and maintenance agency for Shopify and WordPress clients. And so that was kind of where the idea of Barrel Holdings started to take root. Of okay, we can actually run an agency separately. And one
Hmm.
of our project managers in Barrel at the time, he asked if he could run it, and we set up a joint venture with him, and he's been running Vaulted Oak, you know, pretty autonomously. And so that also gave us this kind of confidence that, like, hey, if you put the right people in these seats and give them the opportunity, they can really make a good business out of these client relationships.
A lot of agencies that I work with will kind of outgrow legacy clients and figure out, do I pass them off to a freelancer? And in your evolution of how do I hone this niche, and whether it's vertical or service based, or in your case, it was Shopify at a certain scale, getting rid of the other agents, the other clients, evolved into now we've got a full separate entity. And you've done that a number of times. I mean,
Yeah. So Vaulted Oak was the one with like the smaller support and maintenance clients, and then
yeah.
at the same around the same time, we were starting to get some requests for Webflow websites, and that
Okay.
was just happenstance because some of our designers were really into Webflow, and we had built a relationship with the Webflow team, and so we were like, oh, should we do some Webflow sites? It was a little bit of a distraction because we're trying to focus on Shopify, and
Hmm.
so we thought, oh, okay, like we got Vaulted Oak up and running. Maybe maybe we can just spin up another agency, find someone to run it, and then feed it with some of these inbound Webflow leads, and see how that could materialize.
Yeah.
And so that's where we were able to partner with Jacob Sussman, who's came from a different agency, but like just he and I had been connected, and so I asked him if he wanted to join forces and do something, and he came on board, and yeah, he's done a great job of like taking just a few kind of opportunities coming from Barrel, and then just really honing the message of like, hey, we're a Webflow focused shop, and growing that into an agency of its own. So those three were kind of the starting point, and then at that point, Sewik and I started to think about, hey, there's a bigger like holding company play here where we can maybe spin up more agencies, maybe even acquire an agency, and maybe grow this portfolio. But
Hmm.
that really meant having a plan for the two of us to step outside of Barrel, because it was really hard to kind of oversee the other agencies and then still be day to day with Barrel. So there was a bit of a transition period, and we needed to have a succession plan for this to happen.
Yeah. But you leaned like hardcore into positioning in like, I don't even know, can you call it vertical if it's just software that you're leaning into? Like vertical is service typically, or
Yeah,
horizontal rather is.
it's horizontal because like we're hitting all these verticals, and so we're
Yeah.
doing a service across all these different industries, but it's very specific, what that is. So I
Yeah.
say like Webflow is pretty horizontal because you can do Webflow websites for just about anyone.
Yeah.
So yeah, that became a positioning, and then obviously Shopify is
Shopify.
another one, very very ecom focused, but then yeah, it could span several industries.
Yeah. And again, I think that's super interesting because there's agencies that all we do is web, all we do is brand, all we do is this. But you take the web to a whole new level with each of these entities, because you could easily, maybe not, tell me I'm wrong, not so easily, have one agency that, yeah, we've got a team that does Webflow, we've got a team that does Shopify, this is our e commerce, and share resources, but
Yeah.
breaking them out as separate entities. Like, has that paid off more? Like, are the funnels stronger? What's the true benefit there?
Yeah. So there are a number of factors. Just going back to Vaulted Oak and the support and maintenance clients that just were smaller than where we were heading with Barrel. In terms of larger clients, more account management required versus some of these smaller support and maintenance clients. It was like very much a couple times a quarter they might have a request and you got to fill it. So imagine those kind of work streams are very different and require different skill sets, and so
Yep.
the staffing would change. And we did for a time have a group within Barrel that kind of did this kind of work, but then it was just like a staffing challenge all the time because some of the type of work we might have, we're trying to fill it into some of these other people that were working on larger projects, and it was always a headache and just would lead to a lot of resourcing challenges. And so
Mm-hmm.
splitting it out, like it just allowed Vaulted Oak to be super focused on, hey, we need people that are super passionate about doing these kind of smaller tasks, and also very dev focused tasks that come Jira, heavy Jira usage, like ticketing kind of workflow versus on the Barrel side more strategic, quarterly
Yep.
planning, a lot more marketing discussions, etc. So like that experience kind of let us think very strategically about like, oh, anytime we spin these businesses out, they need to have some workflows that are really custom tailored. And with Webflow, remember it's low to no code, and
Yep.
so it's also a very different way to build a website than we were used to on the Barrel side. And so that led to the recruitment and kind of staffing of a totally different type of Webflow developer, and that we thought would be best served outside of Barrel than within, because then you're introducing like if you're a no code developer versus a
Yeah.
developer who's like super hardcore about like this is what coding should be. Like I think it just presented some cultural challenges, and so having this separate we thought was a cleaner way. And then just to your point about the positioning, yeah, the go to market becomes easier because to be able to say, hey, we're a agency that is totally focused on Webflow, and that's what we live and breathe, and this is what we do really well. And then being able to partner with Webflow in pitching clients, like an enterprise customer that maybe we can help you migrate off of another platform or WordPress or Contentful to Webflow. It's just
Mm-hmm.
a more powerful positioning because it's not just, hey, we bought this firm that also does XYZ, but no,
Right.
these guys, all they do is Webflow and they're going to help you get there.
Yeah, I do love that. I think it's really ingenious. Are there shared resources between the different parts of the portfolio?
Yes, to some degree. So like, we're very careful about like, not mixing kind of the folks that are like doing the client work
Mm-hmm.
as much as possible. I mean, there might be there's collaborations for sure, but like it's very like kind of separated cleanly. The shared resource is more on the like back office, like biz ops, like finance. So
Yep.
finance is more centralized. Um, HR, legal, there's some centralization there in terms of how we support them. And then, just in terms of like how Sewik and I get involved in helping to coach and, help make decisions across all the agencies, like that we could call a shared resource.
Yeah, I love that. And it's economy of scale, right? You got whatever, one HR team, you can throw another agency at it. Not a big deal, that kind of thing. Um, I don't know when, but at some point, I maybe in the past 2-3 years came across your content, your website, your email. I love your email. Maybe within the past bunch of months, came across Lucas's email as well, and so I can look forward to them every Monday, getting them and chock full of great info. And you're super transparent. Has that always been a thing for you? Is that kind of new in your new role? Like, what's the story with that?
Yeah, I guess it is transparent. I mean, it's basically the way that I write is always, for I always say like first and foremost is for myself, because when I look back on my writing, I want to be like, okay, like what was I actually thinking and what was I experiencing
Mm,
at the time? Because if I kind of like gloss that up or like just make it a little bit too, yeah, like just sugarcoat it, I don't think it will be helpful. So in
mhm.
that regard, I've been trying to keep it as real as possible. There's still limits to that. Obviously, like there are certain sensitive things I'm just gonna leave out for public consumption. But yeah, that's always been a motivation in terms of my writing. And then the other part is like, yeah, I've always found the pieces that I found helpful is when other people with their own businesses, founders or whoever's writing about these situations, like when they go in depth and kind of talk about the things that went wrong and how they addressed it or how they kind of took on challenges, like that's the type of content I enjoy and get a lot of value from. So just trying to reflect on those things when I do my writing.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's super valuable. Even, I don't know, maybe a few months ago, you shared an experiment that you did with one of the agencies. I'm going to screw up the name, where you guys offered
Oh, the Omakase.
Omakase. Thank you. Yeah. Which I just know from sushi, but I guess similar mindset of let us do what we're going to do kind of thing. What was the mindset behind that
Yeah.
experiment?
Oh man, I mean that was it's so funny because like the real, I mean, and I don't even um, write the full story of it because it goes so far back. So like back when Seiwuk and I were like the 2-person team, just struggling to like get client work done, just the two of us, right?
Yep.
And I'd always get so annoyed by like some of these like branding projects that dragged on forever because it's like endless rounds of revisions for like little tiny things, and I'm like, this is like this should have been done weeks ago. Like if the client just would like take what we gave them because like we've thought it through, and so I even bought a domain like Omakase like design or something like that like a long time ago. So that idea always stuck because I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be cool was if we could just give the client a design and they had to just take it. So that idea always stuck with me, and like it was just kind of in the back of my mind. So when we started Bolster, it was a little bit different than Vaulted Oak and BX in that we didn't really have as much deal flow to seed it with because it was
Mm-hmm.
really starting with brand design, and so I thought there would be enough upselling or cross selling opportunities across the agencies that we get off to a good start, but we actually didn't. Like after a couple projects, we had no leads, and it was like, oh man, we might have to shut this down. But I was like, hey, let's try something different because I was like, this is like, let's think of this as a cold start problem for an agency where you have no connections, you have no leads coming in. How do you like generate that demand by doing something different? And I was like, hey, what if we offer to do designs, brand design for free? And by the way, like people, I'm sure other agency folks might hate this because like, you're kind of devaluing it by offering something for free. But I
Yep.
was like, but there's one way we can there's a couple ways we can benefit from this, and there is a cost. And so we said, first of all, like the inputs have to be minimal. Like the client fills out a form that's like literally 3 questions. That's the only input. So it's not like we don't have to read a lot of stuff. There's no brief. It's just like, this is the name of the company. These are like a few of the sites that we like that have, good branding, we think. And then like, this is what we do. That's literally it. And
That's
then
it.
then like just like a sushi chef or whatever, you just tell them what you're allergic to and like what kind of stuff you want to avoid. And then guess what, we go away, usually we have like a wait list, and then like maybe 2 to 4 weeks we'll come back and we'll present something. And we've done like over 80, I think almost 90 at this point, of these omakase things for like different businesses. And the fun thing, it's crazy, like half of them actually go, hey, this is great, like I'm gonna use this. And so you know just doing this over and over again, because like in the early days it was it was still a gamble because like
Yeah.
um my co-founder in Bolster, Henry, he was like, it's kind of like he's busting his butt off to like, design branding every week. He's just, churning this stuff out, like, working 10-hour days, just like just trying to get these out. And he's like, oh, like, is this going to amount to anything? But, you know, slowly but surely, like it started to build up a reputation. Some of these clients were like, oh, I love the branding. I'm going to, no strings attached, because you could just take what we give you and you start using it. And they're like, oh, by
Wow.
the way, can I pay you guys to do a deck? Can I pay you guys to design the website? And so like, these things kind of started to take root. And yeah, that was just a really interesting way to build a pipeline and a reputation. And the thing that we always required was, hey, whether you use the branding or not, or whether you go on to pay us, if we do an omakase for you, you agree that we could use it in our portfolio and our marketing materials. So they have
Sure.
to agree to that up front. And so if you don't, then we don't do it for you. But that allowed us to build just imagine like in a course of 6 months, we're able to build, like a portfolio of 50 plus pieces of branding, which
Wow.
some people don't even get to do in a whole career. And so,
Yeah.
like we just had all these examples to show, and that also snowballed into more opportunities because it's like, oh, somebody comes, they're like, hey, we're looking for branding. We're an AI startup. Hey, we just did branding for like 15 AI startups. We know we got
Yeah.
some ideas on how we can help you. And so, yeah, these things kind of start to.
What was the scale like across the board? I'm sure it varied, but what was the average scale of the business that took advantage of this?
Yeah, a lot of early stage startups were like the
Okay.
norm. So yeah, a lot of like pre seed, some seed. I mean, and then like, and we kind of knew going on like, hey, the ones that are going to really appreciate this are the ones that are obviously constrained in resources.
Yeah.
But like through that, and it's funny because we even said yes to like consultants and like service providers to other businesses, and like
Hmm.
the reason we said we were like, hey, they might not want to engage us for the project, but guess what, they talk to a lot of businesses that need branding,
Yep.
and so that became a path, and we met some really great super connectors that brought us a lot of referrals as well.
I think it's albeit controversial, spec work, whatever you want to call it in the industry. I think it's a bold experiment. And again, the metrics that I remember you sharing that it led to revenue after the first project and second project, and I mean, mind blowing, metrics of the results of the experiment. And all too often, you get people that are in startup mode for an agency, and like, I want to launch an agency, and it's like if you can't warn them away from it, how can you guide them to success? And it's like my advice is usually make up a project and come up with design work for that fake brand, put it on your website as your portfolio, do friends and family work, knock on mom and pop doors, as just a small town freelancer kind of person to launch it. And that's essentially what you guys did is how do we build a portfolio and a name for this design studio? And instead of just doing it for like fictitious companies, you did it for real companies that led to actual revenue in the pipeline, which I admire it. I think it's a courageous move.
Yeah, no, it was fun, and like, but at during the thing, it's always like in the back of our minds, is this stupid? Is this crazy? But a lot of these things, you just have to be patient, and it pays off.
Yeah. What's the portfolio like fully comprised of these days as far as service sets and industries and even verticals?
Yeah. So you're saying like all the agencies across the board?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have Barrel, which is Shopify ecom focused. We have BX Studio, which is Webflow focused. We have Vaulted Oak, so support and maintenance for Shopify and WordPress. We have Bolster, which brand design mainly for B2B and professional services. And then we have these are a couple newer additions. So Catalog, which we acquired earlier this year, is a design like as a service kind of subscription based service, mainly targeting startups doing product that need help with product design, so UX UI for their mobile and web apps.
Hmm.
So that one, it's been really interesting to kind of take over a business and then kind of integrate that into our portfolio. And then the last one, much earlier stage. We just launched it last month, like and it's a an Amazon agency that's helping kind of merchants sell profitably on Amazon. And so there's a combination of like a lot of P&L analysis, helping them manage their presence on Amazon end to end. And so that's called Prima Mode.
Interesting. Yeah, Amazon is a fickle beast to tame from agency side, from my experience and people I know doing it. So interesting. Great portfolio. A lot of cool adventures that you guys are doing, and it's really cool just to kind of see the evolution and again the level of content at which you and your team share about the ins and outs is leading to a new project you're launching, Agency Habits. You want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah. So Agency Habits is basically like a relaunch of a site that we've had for a while. So it's about 9 years ago now, I think. At a I had this idea of like, hey, I would pay to look at like another agency's Dropbox folder or whatever, and look at their proposals, their presentation decks, like what they do for kickoffs or just all those things, right? And I was like, hey, if I'm thinking this, like, I'm sure there are other people that would pay to look at my stuff. And so I like I took like a Friday, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna just like, take like 12 or so docs from Barrel, like clean it up a little bit, and then just like throw up a Shopify site because I know how to do that. That's easy.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's where Agency Docs was born. And I didn't market it too much, but like I just put a link up here and there, and like it would generate sales like every month. A couple people buy like the all docs package, which like I just um, priced it at a few $100, and I was like, huh, like and this is like zero, like pure margin, like pure profit products, and I was like, oh, this is cool. Like it just you know it's selling, and it's like totally passive because literally did nothing to market it, and
Yep.
so kind of stood in the background, honestly. But over time, I was like, hey, like as I'm, publishing a lot of content about just agency businesses, talking to a lot of agency folks in general, and also with 6 agency businesses, there's always stuff just happening, and like there's a lot of content coming out of it, deliverables, or whatever you want to call it. And so I was like, hey, like maybe we could take agency docs more seriously and do something interesting with it. But we decided it needed a rebrand. We work with Bolster, our brand design studio, to just reimagine what it could be. And so, and funny enough, like I had owned Agency Habits like long time ago. I think probably when like Atomic Habits came out, I was like, oh, habits are everything. It's
Yep.
awesome. Good habits. So I think I bought agencyhabits.com back in the day. So like I was like, oh, cool. I could go from like agencydocs.co, which not a great URL, to agencyhabits.com. That'd be sweet. So yeah, we're putting the finishing touches, and yeah, it'll be live by the time this airs. And so yeah, it was super exciting. I think it's gonna be a combination of just a lot of like taking a lot of the content I put out on LinkedIn, because
Mm-hmm.
that's just it's been doing that pretty consistently for almost a year and a half now. So there's a lot of content that we can kind of bring to the site, and then on top of that, just weekly newsletter, and then just every now and then we'll have some products, these kind of packaged up templates that can help on the new business side, client account growth, etc. So yeah, we're excited to release that, and just it's also a way for us to connect with other agency operators,
Yep.
because we're always building a pipeline of potential agencies we can acquire, or also agency talent that we could bring on to any of our existing agencies.
Yeah, I love it. I can't wait to see what it looks like and how it operates, and jump into it. So yeah, by the time this comes out, it'll be live and probably have a huge membership by then.
Mhm.
So jump gears real quick and throw a couple of random rapid fire questions at you. Uh, no, there's no wrong answer here. It can be personal, business, whatever comes up. But the first is, what's something that you're binging these days that you can't get enough of, whether it's a hobby, a book, a show, a podcast, or whatever.
Yeah, let's see. Binging these days. Um, yeah, I mean, not binging, but like I do like craft beers because up here there's a lot of really great breweries here. So like yeah, it's been you know uh, been kind of um, yeah, exploring a lot of the different breweries, and yeah, like I mean right now we're recording kind of fall season right around the corner. So like trying a lot of different versions of Oktoberfests. And
Yeah,
so like yeah, that's always fun, just kind of comparing how each brewery does the expression of like the same kind of beer. So yeah, during the summers it was like who makes the best hazy IPAs and things like that. So yeah, that's always been a hobby of mine.
fun. Yeah, you got it. You're in a great area for that. That's awesome. What's a tool? Again, it can be personal, professional, physical, digital, just not AI. Something that you recently integrated into your life, and you're like, how the heck did I live without this thing before?
Yeah, tool. Um, let's see. Yeah, I mean, I'd probably say, well, it was only for 2 months, but it was actually really life changing. Is I wore a continuous glucose monitor for the
Mm,
first time,
hmm.
and like just the data I got on kind of the impact of different foods on my blood sugar levels was like eye opening, and so
Yeah.
that ended up changing kind of, how I thought about my diet and, just reconstituted like a lot of the things I eat. So yeah, I thought that was really, really big.
Yeah, those are my dad's got one on, and I was watching, literally as we were eating on his phone, I was watching, different things spike it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And then finally, and this might be just kind of hard to sum up, but just a super invaluable piece of business advice that's helped propel you and your career that you can share with the listeners.
Yeah, I mean, I think it always boils down, I think, in anything to relationships, and so I would, and I always think about it as like, hey, like, what would I tell my younger self? It's it's this kind of idea of like, hey, avoid thinking about relationships in a transactional manner, but think about it in terms of, hey, like, how do you build for the long term? How do you bring value to others? How do you kind of see, everyone has people that you can help who have their own hopes, dreams, and fears, and just be somebody who can help facilitate their success. Because at the end, you do enough of that, so much comes back to you. And so just do it without any expectation, but at the same time, know that these are all investments, for the long term.
I love that. Yeah, putting the deposits in the bank, if you will. I love that.
Yeah.
Peter, thank you so much for joining me, for sharing all of your experience in the past half hour with the listeners, and we'll have to get you back on down the road and see how things keep evolving with you and Barrel Holdings.
Awesome. Thank you, Steve.
All right.
Thanks again for tuning in to Agency Bytes. If you know someone with expert knowledge on a topic that agency owners would love to hear about, go to agencyoutsight.com/podcast-guest and nominate them.